will just turn to her daughter-in-law Chinwe and say, "Don't you know that it's an abomination for you to allow your husband to sweep and clean the house? Oh, do you want to turn my son to a houseboy in his own home? Mind yourself, oh. Even if you just put to bed, are you the first person to give birth? You had better stop lazing about," Nena would say as she walks away angrily. Many years ago, in a town called Oka, there lived a beautiful woman named Nena. Nena was a petty trader and was married to Uche, who was a farmer. And together, they had two sons named Eze and Ifeanyi. Uche was a very lazy man and stayed at home all day, playing chess and drinking with his fellow drunkards. He would not go on plants during the planting season. Instead, he would stay at home, eating, sleeping, and drinking. So Nena was left with no choice than to work twice as hard, just to make sure that there was food in her home. Aside the provisions that she sold in a small shop that was in front of her house, she also cooked food by the side and also made hair for women by the side. She juggled so many responsibilities just to make sure that she made some money to feed her household, since her husband refused to work. But despite all that she did out there to make money, she still came back home and would do all the house chores and still had to serve her husband his lunch by 3 p.m. and dinner at 7 p.m. If not, there was going to be a problem. Uche was useless outside and useless at the home front. He did not help his wife out even in the home. Yet he demanded that she served him delicious meals 3 times a day and served them on time too, despite the fact that he did not contribute 1 naira for those meals. And anytime Nena did not serve his food on time, Uche would pounce on her and beat her mercilessly. So Nena had to make sure that she made sales every single day. If not, she would not be able to cook. And if she was not able to cook and serve her husband, that meant that she was going to be a punching bag that night. Uche also shamelessly demanded that his wife fulfill her marital obligations 2 times a day. If not, she was going to receive another round of beatings. Nena was tired and stressed. Meanwhile, Uche was always looking fresh and young. Nena had thought of fleeing her husband's home severally, but was afraid of the stigma that came with being a single mother. She was also not sure of her ability to cater to her boys on her own. She felt that boys needed the presence of their fathers to grow into wholesome young men. So for the sake of her 2 sons, Nena continued to endure the emotional, financial, and physical abuse of her husband, Uche. However, out of her 2 sons, Eze and Ifeanyi, Eze loved his mother the most. He saw his mother struggle to provide for their household and still send them to school while working multiple jobs. He hated his father for how he abused his mother and never appreciated her. Eze could not understand why any sane man would not be appreciative of the efforts a woman such as his mother was putting in to keep their home running. And so, Eze hated and resented his father. He couldn't wait to grow up and be able to defend his mother. He had tried standing up to his father once, but his father had beaten him mercilessly. So he no longer tried to defend his mother anymore. He was simply just waiting for the right time when he could finally defend his mother. He was also disgusted by the fact that his own father, despite the fact that he was not providing, will still go to his mother's handbag and steal money, which he would use to flirt with younger ladies all over the town and squander the rest on drinks and gambling. Eze watched his mother cry and weep profusely every single time, and it broke his heart. Eze was very sad. He loved his mother so much, and so he vowed that when he grew up and got married, that he was never going to make his wife cry or suffer like this. He vowed that he was going to be faithful and was going to be the exact opposite of who his father was. He was going to be a loving husband and was going to provide for his home. A few years later, Eze had graduated from the university with a first class and got a job at an oil company immediately. Eze was very happy, and in a short while, he became very wealthy too. He never believed in his life that he could ever handle such amount of money in a short time. The first thing Eze did with his money was to buy a beautiful car for his mother. Nnenna was so happy that at last all her sacrifices over her sons did not go to waste. Eze still went ahead and gave his mother lots of gifts, ranging from materials to handbags to shoes and even to cash gifts. At this point, Nnenna was the happiest woman on earth. However, Eze refused to give his father any gift at all. He had built a lot of resentment and hatred for his father and could not even stand his presence. Uche too, on the other hand, was sad that his son had not given him any gifts, but he was too ashamed to ask him and also did not want to get insulted because he knew that it was his fault, that he had been a terrible father to his sons. So while Nnenna continued to enjoy gifts and money from her sons, especially Eze, Uche only enjoyed the little money he could bully his wife Nnenna into giving him. Eze, on the other hand, continued to prosper. A few years down the line, Eze decided that it was time to get married. After all, he had enough money to take care of himself and his family. So Eze's search for a wife began. A few weeks later, Eze met a beautiful young lady named Chinwe at a restaurant, and it was love at first sight for him. A few discussions later, they clicked immediately, and Eze fell head over heels in love with her. Chinwe was a very beautiful young lady and was also a nurse. But Chinwe was an orphan, as she had lost both parents at a very tender age, so she had to take care of herself all alone. She had done all sorts of odd jobs just to see herself through school till she graduated and became a registered nurse. A few weeks later, Eze and Chinwe got married in a very lavish wedding ceremony. They were both very happy as people had come from far and near to celebrate with them. In a short while, Eze and Chinwe had settled down into their new home and were very happy. They played and cuddled like lovebirds. Truly, Eze kept to his word. He made sure that he was everything his father was not. He gave Chinwe huge sums of money for her to use in the running of the home. He was also very gentle and nice to his wife. He treated her with respect and spoiled her silly by showering gifts on her at every slightest opportunity. And this made Chinwe very glad. She wondered what she had done to deserve a husband like Eze. So in return, she respected and honored Eze and took very good care of him. And together, they built a very happy home. A few months later, Chinwe found out that she was pregnant. And when she shared the news with her husband Eze, he was very happy. Eze pampered her even more all through the pregnancy. Chinwe was so excited. She continued to thank God for giving her such a good man. A few weeks later, Chinwe gave birth to a beautiful baby girl and Eze was so excited. So the next few days, Chinwe and her daughter were back home. And because Chinwe was an orphan and did not have anyone to come look after her and her baby, as it was customary in Igbo land, Eze's mother, Nnenna, had to come look after her daughter-in-law and her grandchild. Nnenna was so happy. She took very good care of her grandchild and her daughter-in-law. However, as Nnenna lived in her son's home, she noticed how domesticated and helpful her son was in his home, and this made her very uncomfortable. She was upset that her son would cook and clean in his own home when her own husband, Uche, never did any of those things for her. She also got very jealous each time she saw her son Eze come home with lovely gifts for his wife. She sat in her room one day, looking very worried, and thought out loud to herself, saying, So my son goes out to work every day and hustle to provide for his family, while his wife stays back at home, lazing about, in the name of caring for a child. Yet he will still come back home and sometimes even cook for her, and always comes back with lots of beautiful gifts for a woman that has been lazing about all day. Hey, this nonsense must stop. Oh, my son cannot be a fool in his own home. Besides, Chinwe needs to learn what being a real wife and what motherhood entails, not this nonsense that she's doing here. After all, in my own time, I will give birth and still back my baby to do all the house chores, and will still back that same baby and go out to hustle to make money and use that same money to feed my husband and children. Yes, my husband will not even appreciate me. Yet this one, Chinwe, is here, enjoying my son's money, just sitting about, lazing about. I must do something about this, so before I leave this house, I must do something. Nnenna said, fuming. So a few days later, she set her plans in motion. So each time she saw her son cleaning the house, she would stop him saying, no, Izzy, you should not be doing this now. It is the job of a woman to keep the home clean, not the man. Nena would say, and then call out to her daughter-in-law, Chinwe, come on. Nena would call out to her daughter-in-law. But Eze would usually interrupt her and say, no, mama, it is my home, and cleaning the home is not gender specific. My wife just gave birth and is still healing. So it's only normal that I should try and make life easier for her in any way I can. Eze would reply his mother. By this time, Chinwe would be present, and Nnenna would pretend like she did not hear a word of what her son just said, and would just turn to her daughter-in-law Chinwe and say, don't you know that it's an abomination for you to allow your husband to sweep and clean the house? Oh, do you want to turn my son to a houseboy in his own home? Mind yourself, oh. Even if you just put to bed, are you the first person to give birth? You had better stop lazing about, Nnenna would say as she walks away angrily. Eze and Chinwe were very shocked. Eze wondered why his mother, after all she had suffered in the hands of his father, would be upset that he had not turned out like his father. He expected her to be happy that he was being a good husband and a very responsible father. But apparently she was not happy. Little did Eze know that this was just the beginning. Nnenna was ready to frustrate her daughter-in-law. She was ready to start World War III in her son's home. Each time she sees her son Eze sitting, gisting and laughing with his wife, she will walk up to them and then say to her son, Nna, don't you know that as a man, you're not supposed to be home all the time so that your wife will not disrespect you or get too familiar around you? Sometimes in the evenings, just like now, you should go out and hang out with your friends over a drink. I'm just telling you, so that you do not become a woman rapper, so your wife does not become the man of this house. Nnenna stated, sighing, Mama, why are you talking like this? Is it wrong for my husband to stay at home with his wife? Mama, I don't understand you. Chinwe replied, looking upset. Bia Chinwe, I was not talking to you. I was talking to my son, Diokparam, my first son, and I have every right to advise my son. I know you have used juju to tie him already, but at least you have not yet tied me, so I will say my mind. Nnenna replied angrily, Oh, Mama, please stop it. If I don't spend time with my wife, then who should I spend that time with? Now you have ruined the nice time that we were having, Eze replied and walked out angrily. Chinwe, on the other hand, became very worried. She did not understand why her mother-in-law was trying to come between her and her husband. Her mother-in-law had barely spent 3 months in her home, yet she was always trying to cause one problem or the other. So Chinwe decided to speak to her husband about the situation. So one evening, when she and her husband were relaxing, gisting, and talking over a cold cup of juice, she brought up the matter before her husband and said, "Babe, our baby is already 4 months old. Don't you think it's time to start buying gifts for your mom to thank her for her stay with us all through this Omugwo period?" Chinwe said very softly, babe, what are you trying to say? Are you indirectly trying to say that it's time for my mother to leave our house?" Eze replied, already getting upset. No, no, that's not what I said though. All I'm saying is that Omugwo is usually for 3 months and your mom has stayed for 4 months already. Besides, I'm not comfortable with how your mom keeps picking fault with how we live our lives. So I'm just saying let's start buying the gift so that when she's ready to go, everything will be ready. Chinwe replied, sulking. See Chinwe, you can do or say anything, but you see my mom, don't even go there. Are you trying to send my mother out of my own house? Do you know how much that woman went through just to raise me? If she had not suffered to train me for me to end up a successful man, would you have married me? Please and please, do not ever, I mean ever, repeat that nonsense again. My mom is open to stay in my house as long as she pleases, and there is nothing anyone can do about it. Not you, not even me. Eze said and stormed out angrily. What have I said now? What did I do that is so wrong? Babe, please, you're misunderstanding what I said now. Wait. Chinwe called after her husband, but Eze was long gone. Nnenna was very happy. This was the first time she had heard her son having a heated argument, and from the little she heard, she knew that it was because of her. So she turned to her daughter-in-law and said, my son is now becoming a man, not a woman rapper. This is how a man should behave. Nnenna said, mocking her daughter-in-law. Chinwe was completely short of words. She did not know what to say. Before she knew what was happening, tears had started streaming down her eyes. Her home, which was once filled with love and laughter, was now turning into a war zone. Later that night, when her husband came back home, Chinwe went on her knees and pleaded with her husband to please forgive her for suggesting that her mother should leave their home. Although Eze told her that he had forgiven her, but something had died inside of him. He felt very bad that his wife would suggest that his own mother, a woman that suffered so much for him, should just leave his house just like that. So even though Eze told his wife that he had forgiven her, he still held a grudge against her. He no longer came back home early from work. Instead, he would hang out with his friends at the beer parlor. He no longer bought gifts for his wife and had become very short-tempered with her. He snapped at his wife and shouted at her at the slightest provocation. Nnenna had been observing everything that had been happening and was very happy. She would always walk up to her son and say, now you are acting like the man of the house. Very good of you, Nam. Nnenna would say, patting her son's back. Chinwe, on the other hand, was very frustrated. She cried and wept all day. Eze even became worse. He started flirting with different young women and was even bringing them home. He even moved Chinwe's things out of their matrimonial room. Chinwe was devastated. Although Nnenna was very happy, she was jealous of seeing Chinwe enjoy what she never had in her own marriage. But a few weeks later, Eze began to bring one particular lady named Linda home every single day. Nnenna did not think too much of it until one day she saw that Linda had come with her luggages, like she had come to live in with them. Nnenna quickly walked up to her son and said, Mba. No, you can be having fun, no, have fun, you're a man. But do not marry another woman, no. If not, you will just die before your time. Mba. Nnenna said, looking very worried. Mama, leave me alone. I love Linda and she's going to be my second wife. Eze replied as though he was under a spell. Eze, why are you sounding like you have no control over yourself? Nnenna asked. But before the words could finish flying out of her mouth, Linda called out and said, "Babe, where are you? My feet is hurting. Come and remove my shoes quickly." Linda called out. "Okay, baby, I am coming," Eze replied like someone under a spell, and left his mother's presence. "Ha! My son has been bewitched. I am finished. Egbolam," Nena said, weeping and crying. Chinwe, who had been watching all that was happening, simply came out and started laughing and then said, "Mama, you have not seen anything, oh. You have not seen anything. This is just the beginning," Chinwe said as she walked away. "Ah, my daughter, don't say that. Please wait. Do not talk like that, oh. We have to work together, oh. Your husband has been bewitched by a strange woman, eh? We have to work. Let us put our differences aside and work together," Nena said, calling out after Chinwe. But Chinwe did not even pay her any attention. Rather, she simply walked away. The days that followed were very painful for Nena. She watched Linda send her son on errands like a houseboy. Eze no longer even went to work. Instead, he would stay at home all day, cooking for Linda and serving her hands and foot. One day, Nena could not take it any longer. So she went to her son, who was making Linda's hair, and said, "Eze, you need to get this woman out of the house now. See what she has turned you to. I was here complaining of your wife, Chinwe, and you're here jumping from frying pan to fire." "Eh?" Nena said angrily. Linda simply looked at Nena with disdain and then turned to face Eze and said, "I have tried to ignore all the tantrums that your mother has been throwing, especially because of how you told me that she suffered to raise you. But I have had enough. I want this woman out of my house. So get your mother's things and get her out of this house right now," Linda said very calmly. And immediately Eze stood up like a zombie, like someone that was possessed, and said, "Mama, oh yeah, leave my house. Leave my house now before I do something that I will regret," Eze said as he threw his mother's things out of the house. Nena was dumbfounded. She started wailing and crying, saying, "I am finished. I am finished, oh. Linda has killed my son, oh," Nena said, weeping profusely. Chinwe saw all that had happened and was very happy. She had been on her own lane with her daughter. She avoided any confrontation with Eze and his new mistress. She was glad to see her mother-in-law being thrown out of the house like a mere beggar. She knew that Linda was using jazz on her husband, but she did not care. She had never prayed for Eze or tried to even find a solution. She said to herself, "Shebi his mother put him in this situation. Let her use her own hands and find a solution to the problem that she created," Chinwe said aloud to herself. Nena, on the other hand, had started going from one prayer house to the other in search of a solution. Everywhere she went to seek for help, they all told her the same thing, that she had offended her daughter-in-law and that her son was continually going to be under the spell and control of Linda unless Chinwe forgave her husband, prayed for him, and also hugged him. So Nena had to swallow her pride. Since she no longer had access to her son's home, she had no choice than to call Chinwe and plead with her to please forgive her son and pray for him and then hug him. But all her pleas fell on deaf ears. Chinwe was no longer interested in anything that had to do with her husband. His mistress Linda could have him all to herself and continue to use him as a houseboy for all she cared. But after several days and after much pressure from her mother-in-law, she finally forgave her husband and prayed for God to have mercy on him. And one day, when her husband was seated in the parlor with his mistress Linda, she simply walked up to her husband and tried to hug him. Eze was very shocked, but immediately it was as though scales had fallen off Eze's eyes, and he immediately got up, looked shocked and disgusted, and then stared at Linda and said, "Who is this witch and what is she doing in our home?" Eze asked, pointing at Linda and shouting angrily. Chinwe went ahead and narrated everything to Eze. Eze was so shocked and very angry. He threw Linda and her things out of his home. A few days later, Nnenna came to her son's house and apologized to her son and his wife Chinwe for interfering in their marriage and promised to visit them only when they permitted her to come. She told them that she was going to stay out of their marriage for good. Eze, on the other hand, apologized to his wife for opening the door for the devil to come into their home and for how he had maltreated her and valued his mother above her. Chinwe forgave her husband and they once again became one big, loving and happy family. Hi besties, it's your favorite storyteller, Omalicha again. Thank you so much for watching my story to the end. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on this one as usual. Do you think that Nnenna deserved all that she got, the way the mistress threw her out of the house? Also, I would want to hear gossip. I want to hear gist. So please share your mother-in-law, daughter-in-law experience with me. I want to hear all the teas. Do not leave anything behind. And please, if you've not supported your homegirl, Omalicha, like, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button right now. And please like my videos and share with your loved ones. Now, until I come your way again with more interesting stories, bye.